At the same time, Stanley Pramuth, whose office in the South Tower was destroyed when the second plane hit, is struggling to free himself from the wreckage.
All the partition, all the walls and everything was flattened. Every piece of furniture and computer was all destroyed. And I'm screaming, and I'm thinking, God, how can these people be so heartless to leave me to die? How can they do that? Not realizing that I'm by myself on this floor. There's nobody else. Nobody. Upon impact, everybody in the 78th to the 82nd floor was gone.
A few floors above Stanley, several executives from a brokerage firm are struggling to find their own escape route. Miraculously, they find a stairwell that seems to be undamaged by the plane crash.
As they were going down, this group of 6 longtime colleagues, they met an obese woman and a frail man coming up. And the obese woman said, "You can't go down, there's too much smoke, there's too much fire." At the 82nd floor in the darkened stairwell, they debated what to do. Most of them went up in search of a helicopter rescue on the advice of the people who were coming below. But there was one executive, an executive vice president named Brian Clark. He just felt down was the place to be.
I heard off to the side this banging, bang, bang, bang. Help! This faint voice was screaming, but it was faint. Help! Is anybody there? I can't breathe. Help! I'm buried. Now, the fire escape door had blown off the wall a bit on the 81st floor landing. So we were able to push the drywall back. Ron and I shinnied sideways through this opening in the wall and onto the 81st floor. And the smoke was picking up a bit on the 81st floor. And with my flashlight, as I sort of shone it around this darkness, because it was pitch black in there, my flashlight was like a high beam headlight on a foggy country road at night. All you could see was this beam of light in this, the dust that was kicking up in the air and the black smoke.
But Pramuth is beyond Clark's reach, and time is running out.
This man that had the flashlight, shining it over his head, I could see this light just beaming through, all around, and he's flashing it.
And this stranger's voice was guiding us left and right as we approached him. And then a very strange thing happened. Ron DeFrancesco, who was carrying a gym bag, he was using it somehow to filter the air as best he could. And he started coughing and sputtering and was completely overcome by smoke right beside me. He couldn't go on. And he turned around and he went back to the stairs and he went up.
You okay?
Ahead of me a few yards, I don't know yet, I haven't found this stranger who's screaming for help, is somebody who's saying, "Help, I can't breathe." And yet right there around me was this bubble of fresh air. And I cannot explain it other than miraculous.
Inside the damaged office, Stanley Pramuth tries to find his way through the mountain of debris. And unknown to either Stanley or Brian Clark, they are drawing closer and closer to disaster. At the time, the idea that the World Trade Center towers could fall seemed impossible. But as the whole world knows, the towers did fall. And the images of destruction from that terrible day beg the question, how could anyone inside the buildings have survived? Out of the devastation of the September 11th terrorist attacks, a new image of heroes has emerged. Police, firefighters, and rescue workers of all kinds showed amazing courage on that day. But they were not the only people fighting to save the lives of strangers. Inside the South Tower, Stanley Pramuth struggles to free himself from a mountain of debris, when suddenly a light pierces through the smoky darkness.
And as I'm screaming, "Lord, send somebody, anybody to help me." There's this person with a flashlight on the other end of the floor. I can't see the person, but there's this flashlight. I gotta be dreaming here. Something is not right. What are the chances for somebody to have a flashlight at a time like this? I've gotta be dreaming. So I'm crouched and I'm screaming, "Don't leave me to die." But I'm temporarily deaf because of this sound. And even though this person was responding, later on I knew, I couldn't figure it. And I'm thinking, all these people who were with me left me to die. This time everybody was gone in impact, and I'm by myself. And I decided that I'm gonna crawl as fast as I could from the south end of the building going towards the elevator. One floor is like 1 acre square, I would say. And I'm crawling as fast as I can. Wait for me, please don't leave me. And I'm crawling the entire length of the loans department, through the lounge, into the computer room, into the communication room. And there's this wall.
Somehow this stranger had come through a maze, if you like, and what now was trapped by a wall. As I got closer and closer, and he was directing me left, right, and I got there. And not 2 yards in front of me was this hand waving, and I suddenly was able to focus on, and I went down the arm, and there was a wide-eyed stranger with his head sort of sticking out a hole in the wall, saying, this is me.
We're gonna have to pull you out of there. I can't get through! Okay, I'm gonna have to go to this wall. I'm gonna see if I can't go to the wall. Okay, I'm gonna try and get over the top.
So I climbed up on some debris and sort of went up over the top and looked down and said, the only way out of here is if you go up and over this. Now, this person scrambled up and like a cat almost, and I reached but couldn't catch it. I said, now you must do this. This is the only way out.
Trying to grab on top of this 10-feet sheetrock wall. It's like a drywall, partition wall, sort of. Then I missed. And part of the ceiling caved in, and a black sheetrock screw, trying to prevent it from hitting my face, I raised up my hand. It went straight through and got stuck on the other side. And I'm now in worse shape than before. So I winced. The man says, what happened? I said, there's a nail in my palm. He says, bite it out. I says, I can't do it. He said, is it attached to a piece of wood? Yeah. He says, hit on the wood, the nail is going to come out. I took the second option, did like this, and the hand ballooned. You gotta do this, you gotta try again.
And up again the stranger came, and somehow I got underneath an arm and a neck or something, and he says later that I pulled him up like Superman, and up and over we went, and we fell down on my back. He gave me this big kiss as I'm lying on my back, and I said, I'm Brian. And he said, I'm Stanley, and that's how we met.
He says, Stanley Primner. And with my hand still outstretched, his hand had all ballooned, black and blue, bleeding and all. This man took my hand, and he held his hand like this. And this man stared me in the eyes, and he told me something that I'll go to the grave with. This man said, all my life I live as an only child. I always wanted a brother, and I find that man today. And his hand, he had a gash in his left palm. He took my right hand and did like this. And he rubbed these two hands together and he says, from today, you're my blood brother. And this man put his hand around my shoulder. He says, come on, buddy, let's go home.
Brian Clark risked his own life to save the life of a stranger.
Okay.
Against all odds, he and Stanley Primner will shortly emerge safely from the stricken building. And it's not a moment too soon, because within minutes, the unimaginable disaster of the morning will take an even more deadly turn. At 10:05 a.m., the South Tower of the World Trade Center succumbs to the overwhelming forces against it. Opinions differ on what made the difference between life and death. Some attribute their survival to good fortune, while others believe that something much greater saved them.
The people who did live repeatedly tell you, God was looking out for me. Someone was looking out for me. They don't really know why, but God put them in this position, and it's caused them to recommit themselves to things that are important in their lives.
It's like I had my guardian angel there, and there's nobody, nothing can bother me. No harm can come against me. And that's what came out of this whole thing. That there is a God, and He hears, and He intervenes, and He protects. And that is what came out of this whole thing for me. I know it beyond a shadow of a doubt. There is God, there is goodness, and there is a guardian angel. This man here, Brian Clark.
The only person that we would see in the stairs, the entire descent, was someone we met coming up the stairs on the 68th floor. He was a co-worker of mine named Jose Marrero. As we passed Jose, I said, "Jose, where are you going?" He said, "Well, I can hear Dave Vera up above. He's on the walkie-talkie. He's helping people. I'm going up to help him." I said, "Well, Dave's a big boy. He can get himself out." He said, No. He said, "I'm going up to help him." I said, "Well, I'm getting this fella from Fuji Bank out." And he said, "That's no problem." He said, "I'll be okay." And up he went. And of course, Jose died that day doing his good deed. 1 week after the event, this would be on the Monday night following, I fell into a dream in my bed. And in my dream, I dreamt that I was in my bed, which is a strange thing for me to dream, at least. But I dreamt that I was on my back with my head up off the pillow, staring at the foot of my bed. Now, I normally sleep on my left side or my right side, never on my back. But suddenly then, in my dream, to the foot of my bed came Jose Marrero, the man I had passed on the 68th floor, walking up. And Jose had a white, pure white, blousy type shirt. There was no tunnel of light, there was no flashing lights, but just this bright white shirt and his glorious smile. He was known for his smile. He didn't say a word. He just looked down at me and smiled. And wide-eyed, I said to him, "Jose, you're alive. That's amazing. How did you do that? You fooled everybody." So I'm talking to him, if you like, in current event terms. It's not like, "Hey, let's go to the picnic or something." I'm saying, "Wait a minute, you shouldn't be here. You're dead," that sort of thing. Now, he didn't respond. He didn't say a word in the whole time we were together. He just smiled again and nodded, and the message he sent me in that smile and nod, so the message I absorbed, if you like, was a very casual, "You'll figure it out." And I stared at him another second, and then I shook my head like this to clear the cobwebs, and of course in that split second he disappeared. But there I was in the position that I had been in my dream, and it was so seamless, other than the shake of the head, that I sat up and I looked around the room, sort of said, "How did he do that? Where did he go?" And a second later, beep, 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 right beside me, it was my alarm. Time to get up, 5:25 a.m. And I have known ever since that instant, when I sort of realized what had happened and was awake, if you like, that Jose is fine, that I'll be fine, all my co-workers are fine, that you and I will be fine. God's plan is unfolding, as it should. And any doubts I had about my faith just evaporated in that moment. And I haven't had any nightmares. I haven't had any trouble falling asleep at night over 9/11. I have no survivor guilt. I am left with sadness that it happened, but that's all that I'm left with.